Welcome back to Beyond the Limelight. It is February 2021, and we just want to say thank you. Thank you to all the listeners for listening and sharing. You know, we have a lot of fun doing this. We hope you guys enjoy it as much as we do. Today we have a very special guest, and Vince has the honor of introducing him.
Yeah, we're really excited to have Josh Holowicki. He's the owner and CEO of E2i Design. What is up, Josh?
Hey guys, good to be with you on this wonderfully cold February morning. I think all of the country except Miami is frigid right now.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, hopefully it maybe we need a deep freeze. It gets rid of some of this the craziness going on,
Right.
But so for those of you who aren't familiar with E2i Design, we're really excited to have Josh on today. Josh, tell us a little bit more about E2i Design and what you guys are all about.
Yeah, we're really passionate and focused on all things audio, video, lighting, scenic. We support primarily the house of worship market, as well as hospitality. So anything related to live experience type environments. We get into performing arts spaces and things like that. We don't really do stadiums and casinos, stuff like that, but anything hospitality, from hotels and restaurants to again, primarily house of worship spaces. Anything again that's going to be experience focused, right? Setting the tone and the mood and the environment. So, but yeah, that's our world. Like I said, audio, video, lighting, scenic. Now, of course, a lot of with video, a lot of distributed audio, right? Yes, for
absolutely
podcasting and streaming. Worship services now is a huge thing. So yeah.
Yeah, and I remember the first time we met you was I believe it was at LDI a couple years ago, and you guys started using some of our products, and I think ever since then we've been kind of close friends and colleagues in this industry. So give us a little idea of how E2i Design came about. We'd like to get a little history of the people we have on the show. So, where did this all start? Were you always into audio-visual lighting, or was this something that maybe came about in your older years?
It's funny because I started the company as I'm a lighting designer. I worked for a church, actually, Northridge Church out of Plymouth, Michigan. That's where I'm at. That's where I'm from. So I was a lighting designer and one of two scenic designers on staff for the church. Was on staff there for about 5 years. It's my home church. I volunteered there, and I started out as a volunteer, in lighting. And then they were like, "Hey, you seem like you're passionate. Want to be the lighting director?" I'm like, sure. I mean, I really, my background at the time was business. I was going to college for, business, not lighting design. But the church saw something in me, apparently. And so they really poured heavily and invested in me. I started like at the end of September, back when I started. And the first thing they did was stuck me on a plane and sent me to LDI, my first one. And I spent 2 weeks in Vegas, learning from designers and attending seminars and going backstage to, the Celine Dion Coliseum Theater and, all these places and meeting all these incredible people and just like drinking from a fire hose, learning from others. And then when I got back to the church, they brought an incredible lighting designer by the name of Andy Dunning in. And Andy came in and sat down with me for 2 solid weeks behind the console. And again, another fire hose moment. And then I just learned as much as I could, as fast as I could, and as well as working in the church. And so I was on staff there for 5 years. And then through that experience, really felt called to start E2i Design. And it was a good friend of mine who approached me and said, there's a spot that is not being served in the worship community, and I think you'd be really good at serving it. So I started as a lighting company. All we did was sell lighting and help consult on lighting and put lighting systems and design together. And then as we grew and expanded our team, we grew and expanded our offerings,
Yeah. And what does, if you don't mind me asking, what does E2i stand for?
So our mission is actually our name, E2i. It's like E squared if you look at the name.
Okay.
But it's educate, empower, inspire. One of the things I learned was that in this business, you can never stop learning. The minute you think you've got it all figured out and you know everything is the minute you become very rapidly irrelevant. So it was really because of how I was poured into and invested in as somebody who needed a lot of teaching, and coaching and to learn this business. I realized very quickly that the only way that I was going to be successful was to be open and willing to learn and willing to learn from others who have been down the road before me and learn from, learn the good, the bad, the ugly, of the business. And to always be in a position of gaining knowledge, no matter how, well recognized you become, or no matter how good you think you are at what you're doing. I was a young kid at the time, in my early 20s, working for what was a rapidly growing ministry. When I started on staff, we were running like 2,500, 3,000 a weekend. And when I left, we were at like 16,000, Wow. And I'm dealing with a lighting rig in a space that's got 3,400 seats, and I had over 200 instruments in the air. And, I'm running at the time, when I started, I had a Hog 2. And the full set with the wing and everything, and like nobody had that, especially not in House of Worship. And so, we're a pretty active and progressive ministry from using technology, incorporating technology. So, like some others at the time, Willow Creek and in Chicago area, and, others who were really all of us kind of growing simultaneously at that time in the early and mid 2000s. It could have been really easy to get your ego in the way, and that was one thing I learned very quickly right out of the gate was put yourself aside and always be willing to learn. And so that education in our name, that is the foundation. That's the first thing. Anytime we work with an organization, we are trying to learn ourselves. We're trying to educate ourselves about who they are as an organization, what it is that they want to accomplish by working with us, as well as we want to educate them. We want to teach them through the process. We want to help them gain knowledge and get better at what they are trying to do. And education is critical.
I hate to cut you off. I'm sorry, but I think we noticed that too. When it comes to, vendors learning about our product, that's an important part of teaching your customer, the proper way to use equipment so that, they're not blaming the vendor or anything like this. We notice with your clientele who, oh, hey, I got this from E2i Design, I need this, you guys are always educating your customers the proper way, and it makes us look good too. So we appreciate that. And we thank you for taking the time to learn your craft. So that's great.
One of the things, when we first connected with you guys, it was really great is, walk on the booth. You don't know us. We're learning, and interested in learning about who you guys were. Immediately took time to show us what you guys had available to teach us about your organization. We're immediately impressed, of course. And and then, said, how do we get to be a part of this? Because what you guys have as an organization lines up with who we are as an organization. And we feel like you guys could help serve our client base really well. And so we formed that partnership. But, and I've always looked at it as a partnership with all of our manufacturers that we work with and support. It has to be a partnership. It's not my customer. It's not your customer. We together collectively support them. We together collectively are responsible for making sure that they're taken care of. If they have a problem, we want to know about it. We want to be involved and help solve those issues, should they come up. I mean, it's technology, something's going to break. The critical thing, quite honestly, and this we always tell our folks, is it's going to break. Something's going to break. The question is, how does it get resolved? And who are the people behind it who are going to help resolve it? Anybody can sell you something, but not everybody can properly support it. So we're also extremely selective with the manufacturers that we work with. There's a pretty tight criteria that a manufacturer has to meet to be able to get put in front of our clients, because we've got really high standards in that regard. But I think every time that we've come back to the booth, right, and I think the trade shows have always been a place where we get to all connect. Anytime we come back, again, you guys are always right there to pour into us. And I think you'll notice every time we show up, we always ask, so what's new? What's changed? What do we need to know about? What do we got to learn about? And how can we be a better support mechanism for you guys? And you guys have always been willing to pour in. So that education is ongoing and always happening.
So E2i, based on education, I mean, I think that's a huge part of why people should choose E2i, and especially in this world and in our industry. Now, if you don't mind, I'd like to kind of go back a little further. House of Worship has changed tremendously. I mean, from back in the day to now. Can you explain and maybe go in depth of what do you think brought, was it technology that brought the House of Worship to where it is now? Was it the fact that design actually became, how do I explain this? Where we're in the church, like you're called to do things. You're called to, you're a musician. You want to be used as a musician, or what has brought lighting and entertainment as far as the technology so far in the church?
Yeah.
I hope I explained that correctly.
It's
a little hard to explain,
No, it is. And you're right on, because, there was the day where, look, we've always looked at it as technology is a tool. It's not some silver bullet. It's not going to solve all your problems, right? But technology is a support resource. It's a support tool. It's a support mechanism that helps create an exciting and engaging worship environment in House of Worship per se, right? And people are after an experience now. Before it was, way back in the day, it was more observational worship, right? You got talked at, you got sang to, and you just sort of existed in the space. And then it became more interactive and more engaging. And I think the worship experience from a music perspective helped drive that, with more contemporary worship music coming in, less organ and hymns, more band or orchestra and live engaging worship music that was interactive, not just you sitting there kind of listening, but you as an attendee, engaging. And then technology kind of helped push it over the edge to the next level, which was then to engage the senses as part of it, right? And really to use technology to take people on a journey and tell a story in the confines of an hour and 15 minute now worship experience, worship service, right? And now we're using technology to set the mood and the tone and the environment. We're able to use video to tell stories. We're able to use lighting to focus people's attention. Think about it, going to a Broadway show. You're sitting in a dark room and a light comes up over downstage left, and that's where everybody in the room is focused, right? And that's what they're telling you they want you to see. And we're able to do the same type of thing in a worship experience. If I want your attention focused here, if I want you to engage and feel this type of emotion, I might use this color or this gobo pattern. I might, push the haze up a little bit. I might do different things to help create the environment.
And you're ultimately, I mean, if correct me if I'm wrong, ultimately educating Scripture in a more atmospheric way, so that maybe it holds on to that person a little bit more than it would if someone was just, preaching to you in a different way.
Absolutely. I mean, it's about an experience, right?
Yeah.
I think our society and overall community at large is very experiential. We want to engage. We want to be connected. We don't just want to come in and, think about any other thing that you would do. Do you just want to sit there and stare, or do you want to get connected? Do you want to engage? Do you want to participate in it? And technology has helped move that along. Now, there are definitely environments where technology has moved to the forefront of the experience, and some people don't like that. But it's not technology's fault. It's the user's issue and how it's being used. We've definitely had pastors say, I don't want moving lights. That's rock and roll. There's nothing wrong with the moving light, and the moving light itself is not rock and roll. It's your programmer who's got a 24-hour ballyhoo running. That's the problem, right? So let's not blame the light. Let's blame the programmer, and let's get some education in place and teach them how to utilize the tool in this environment so that it can produce the experience that you want, not the experience that you don't want, right? The answer is not just turn off the light. It can't serve us. The answer is let's get taught on how it can serve us to create the environment that we're expecting to have. And then let's leverage the tool and use the resource to now move the vision and the mission of the organization forward, right? So that's a lot of what we're doing with folks in our teaching is, how do I use this? A lot of people are coming from very basic systems still, right? And how do I incorporate more complex lighting? How do I incorporate more dynamic audio systems and integrated video systems that are distributed in my lobby and across town to another campus and to people who are experiencing online? How do I do all that without looking like we've fallen down a flight of stairs while we're doing it, hitting every step on the way down? So part of our job is to help teach and coach and train and make that technological tool serve that organization. It makes for a better user. It makes for a better manufacturer and user experience, because now we're also aligning vision and budget and expectations with the right piece of gear. We're cutting out all the, well, I saw so-and-so use it, so it must be right for me. I saw, X, Y, and Z has it. I got to have that. Maybe, but maybe not. How do we know that it's right for you? Right.
Yeah.
So part of our process is also helping to make a better manufacturer and user experience to ensure that the right technology is being deployed in the proper way. Because the first thing somebody does when they get a piece of gear in it, and in the worship environment, pastor walks in and says, that isn't what I thought it was going to do. Well, that, light, there's something wrong with that, or blah, blah, blah. All of a sudden now the manufacturer's under the bus. It's not their fault. It's your fault for not deploying it right. So we're trying to help continue to align all of that and make it better for everybody,
Yeah. You guys do a great job.
Yeah, absolutely.
You really do. Yeah.
Now, I'd like to kind of talk about some of your processes, the infrastructure you have in place to educate and inspire. Could you take us through start to finish of basically meeting the church that you're going to be working with, or the hospitality place you're going to be working with, identifying their needs, and kind of putting in place what you guys have planned for them?
Sure. So the cool thing, the first thing is that it starts with our incredible team. And one of the things I will say about our team is that, and you guys have interacted with a lot of us, everybody on our team, everyone has held a role in a ministry in a technical position, some way, shape, or form, in video, audio, design, engineering, lighting, whatever. All of us who are interfacing and interacting with ministries have all done this job. So we're not talking about, we're not pushing, we're not designing anything that we haven't already done for ourselves. And we take that approach when we're looking at seeing if a ministry, in this case, since we're talking that, we'll kind of take the ministry path first, to make sure that we're the right fit for a ministry. And we're also looking to make sure that that ministry is the right fit for us. We're definitely more of when it comes to a project, more of a boutique style organization. That doesn't mean expensive. That doesn't mean out of reach. What that means is we don't rubber stamp projects. Everybody is unique. Every vision that they have is specific to that organization. So part of our process is extracting that to find out, yep, they're the right organization for us. And we feel like we could be the right organization for them, and we could put something together that makes sense. So understanding their mission, vision, values, and purpose is a key ingredient. And understanding what it is that they expect technology to do for them. What do they have that's working? What do they have that's not working? What do they love about their current worship experience? What don't they love? What ministries are they inspired by? Who do they have relationships with, or who have they seen that they really like? What are the things about them that inspire them and motivate them as an organization? One of the things we're constantly trying to do is to take all of this big pile of stuff and filter it down to one key ingredient, which is, what is their DNA? How do we take technology and align it to who they are as an organization? How do we look at their current situation and their long range vision so that we can align them with technology that will serve them for years and years, right? Because we all have an immediate, I got this thing, I got this problem, I got this XYZ I got to solve. I'm renovating a space, I got fixtures falling out of the ceiling, I'm building a new building. I don't know, pick one. We have this immediate thing that's motivating them to want to do something, but that has to be part of the long range vision, right? Part of our process is ensuring that we don't have closets full of gear that is not being used, right? I think we've all walked into a theater or a church or something and opened the closet and went, oh my gosh, look at all this stuff. What are you guys doing with all these par cans? Something, right? And a lot of that's just because we bought gear because somebody somewhere said we needed it, and we really didn't,
And that goes back to we interviewed Carl Rupsis, who's he's an art director for schools, and he was telling us that that's what happens a lot in schools is you get these big companies coming in going, you need all this stuff, and he goes, but these schools don't have the people in place to tell them, no, we don't need all this. And then, you get these rooms, the black box is filled with, this junk. So I'm glad you said that. So sorry to interrupt. But
no, it's a key ingredient, I think, to making sure and ensuring that, money is being spent properly. Right. And especially in worship, communities, this is donated dollars. The money that's coming into a ministry organization is handed to the church to move the mission of the local church forward. And we have to be responsible stewards of those finances. We should be responsible in all areas. But when people are giving their money to the church to, move that forward, we need to be really responsible with how we spend it. No matter what church they are or what the size, everyone has a budget. People look at some of the biggest ministries out there that we work with and they go, oh, they must have all the money in the world. Yeah, they don't. Nobody does, right? Nobody has all the money to do all the stuff they want to do when they want to do it. Nobody. So everybody's got to work to a budget, but being responsible for that budget is critical. And so we take that very, very seriously. So making sure that technology is in alignment. We all know that gear isn't going to serve somebody for the next 20 years. I mean, let's be realistic. And part of that is, again, us aligning expectations, right? The bean counters want it to last until it dies. Well, we all know that, look, a dynamic organization that's changing a piece of gear, while it may not physically croak, it may not serve the organization in 10 years the way that it will right now. We're going to get our life out of it, but maybe down the road, we're doing something different. It's just not any longer the right piece of gear. As long as we're all on the same page about that, cool. So aligning expectations is part of our process, but we start everything with really, we don't talk about any gear like for a while into the relationship. It's really about learning and understanding what they want and what they're expecting. And then we work towards putting a plan together that says, okay, in an effort to achieve this vision, this is the technology, these are the tools and the resources that we're going to need to achieve that. And here's how much it's going to cost from an investment standpoint. Are we able to do it all? Do we need to break it down into phases? Something we call road mapping. So we'll develop this long range plan, vision, this roadmap with an organization to make sure that the equipment will be appropriate to serve it long range, especially when we're likely going to have to deploy it in phases, right? You don't want to put in something in phase A that by the time you get to phase 3 is irrelevant. You want it to keep building and growing on it. So part of having that plan, though, ensures that what we spend today is going to help serve as we keep adding the other puzzle pieces. It also shows those in a position of leadership and a position of approval of finances and things like that, that we're not just the tech guys with our hand in the money cookie jar, which I think a lot of times they think we are, which we're not. Especially tech people in a church, the board of directors and that sort of thing sees them coming a mile away and they're like, oh, here they come asking for more money. So we're trying to make sure that when we ask for those finances, those funds, that it's shown and proven that we've thought it through. We've done our due diligence to make sure that we've made the right selections of equipment that's going to serve the organization, that we're, doing the right things and following the right path. And then they can get behind it. They can see that there's a plan. They also can see, hey, if we got to do this in phases, we know what it's going to cost at each phase and we can budget and we can plan. Nice job, and they appreciate that. We also speak both languages of tech and leadership. So we can help bridge that conversation between the tech team who's nutty about the gear and the widget part of it and what it, all the little nuances. And there's 12 gobos in this fixture and 9 of them rotate. And the finance guy's going, I don't have any clue what any of that means. So, how much? So we're there to help kind of bridge that,
And I think the word that stuck out to me, and one of my favorite words, is boutique. As a business owner myself, when you start out, obviously you got to take as much as you can, right? What customers can we get in? But as you grow as a business, it's really nice to be able to pick and choose your customers in a way that you're going to enjoy to work with your customer and they're going to want to enjoy to work with you. And you could probably say that I'd say 99% of your customers you really love to talk to on the phone and really want to help them, and you're building a relationship that's really long, and that's just valuable in itself. Boutique businesses are so valuable in our industry.
Well, and you got to stay in your lane, do the things that you're passionate about, do the things that suit you as an organization. And what fun is it to work with people who aren't fun to work with? I mean, that's just no good, right? So I tell my team, it's like, hey, we are in the relationship building business, if you will. We're out there to build connections, make friends, have fun. I mean, we want to have a good time, want to go golfing, we want to go water skiing, we want to, go whatever, right? We want to have a good time. Let's have fun. We do stuff with our clients. One of our guys down in Nashville got invited to the Red Wings Predators game the other night with one of our clients. Like, the clients got tickets and invited him. Like, that's the kind of relationship we want to have. And if we get to do some business, then that's cool too, right? And that's fun. We get to play with some cool tech toys as part of the process. But really, we're about building and bridging relationships. That was another gap I saw many, many years ago. There just wasn't the relationships between organizations and ministries. And we've worked really, really hard host events and do dinners at trade shows and all these things that take ministries that might not otherwise, they know they exist, but they might not have a relationship with each other. And if we can be the conduit to bring them together, that makes our whole community better. And, makes everybody stronger in what they're trying to do. Don't live on an island. Let's build relationships. So that's our primary focus, is building relationships and staying connected. And then we get to do great things together. We've only had 2 organizations that we worked with that it just didn't pan out well. And it was the handwriting on the wall right from the beginning. And we should have just said, I don't think this is going to work. But we did that thing where we went against our gut and kept plowing forward. And the key part of those 2 relationships that didn't work was the fact that those organizations portrayed that they knew everything and there was no room for education, that they had no opportunity to grow. They were hell-bent on certain brands that we would use, even though they drove the budget way out of control. And we're like, this is not right. This is not right for you. It's not right for the organization. You're spending money that shouldn't be spent just because you want a hood ornament, and just, you're trying to teach and you're trying to coach. It's just not working. It's just not working. We're like, you know what? This is not worth it, because we're in the training and teaching side of things. And anybody who thinks they know it all, like I said before, you've become irrelevant. We don't claim to know it all. We're constantly learning, and we want to be partnered with people who are. So finding that, again, down to that boutique thing of saying, hey, this is who we are as an organization. This is what makes us tick. And if that gets you excited as a ministry partner, as a hospitality partner, then we're the right people for you. If not, then there's somebody else out there who'll just be happy to take your money, I'm sure. But it's not going to be us.
The gut does not lie. It never has lied. I'm telling you, throughout my entire life, the minute you go against that gut feeling, it's always the wrong decision.
Always.
So
always. And I just told
good advice for young people and your team members and stuff. Go with the gut. You
got to, because that's your driver, right? That's gonna be the thing that you just go, I don't know, and like I said, we're boutique, and not boutique doesn't mean expensive. Boutique doesn't mean out of reach. I always try and make sure there's a clear line there, but specialty, specialized, focused, custom tailored just for you, is really where we live, and making sure that people get exactly the right solution, and the same thing holds true on the hospitality side. And we get a lot of hospitality work because of our house of worship work. We've kind of turned an interesting corner in that it was a vision I cast many, many years ago, which was, we get to be so creative in the house of worship environment. How do we get to let that spill over into other spaces? And finally, we as an organization started getting reached out to by some pretty major brands, saying, you guys are doing some really incredible things in the worship environment, and you're creating these exciting experiences. That's what we want for our customers when they come into our lobby, into our restaurant, into our sports bar. Can you translate that? Sure, absolutely. And I'm very proud of some of the remarkable work that we've been able to do to help create exciting experiences in these other environments. And it's been cool.
What are some of the other environments? Can you share?
So one of our biggest ones, we've got a great relationship with a really, really big hospitality company out of Canada. And the owner happens to own the Dallas Stars. And so he said, hey, I'm going to start opening a bunch of locations in the US. I'm going to open the first one, which is going to be a hotel, kind of a lounge restaurant, and a sports bar. I'm going to open this complex in Plano. And it's called, it's Sandman Hotel, with a Moxie's restaurant and a Shark Club sports bar. He said, I'm going to open this in Plano. It's like 5 minutes from the arena. And I want to start right here. So, but this is going to be this is the one that's going to set the tone for the entire all of them that we're going to do in the US. So we did it up, and we did it the right way. We've got, JBL distributed audio in there. And, we've got basically the whole experience was, we want impactful audio. We want exciting visuals, and we want it so simple that anyone who's running the restaurant can do it from an iPad. So that's what we engineered. We have extremely complex systems because they've got, like in the Moxie space, there's a lounge, there's a restaurant space, there's conference room spaces that service the hotel. All of that has to work together. And I can have a store manager who can walk around on an iPad and run that whole system. Awesome. It's a really complex system. And then you go over to Shark Club, and that thing's out of hand. We've got over 60 TV displays in there, plus an enormous custom engineered LED video wall behind their bar. They've got a 65-foot long bar. We have 2 giant LED video walls on either side of it, with a custom engineered bridge, if you will, which is a sports ticker and announcement ticker that runs across the full 60 foot. And we worked with Row Visual to design and engineer that system and put that in place. And you walk in the door and that's the first thing you see. And we've got 60, displays plus the video wall in there. And you can walk into that environment and there's not one person walking around with a remote control trying to change a channel or adjust a volume, nothing. I can pull up my iPad and I can go, this bank of TVs over here, touch screen. I want this one on this feed. I want this one and this one on that one. And it's super simple and easy, totally streamlined, but it's like complete workhorse behind the scenes. So
if you can't get tickets, if you can't get tickets for Dallas Stars for that night, you got to go to this place to watch.
Just go to Shark Club.
Just go to Shark Club.
So here's the real cool thing is they wanted the experience for that exact purpose. So when the Dallas Stars score a goal, the lights go bonkos, the sound goes nuts, and it's real time, just like you're at the stadium.
Oh, that's
watching
cool.
The game. And that was another thing we engineered to make that work. And that's something they want to deploy, all these other locations. Their other vision is, we don't want you to sit in any seat and see the same game on the same display. So and they want you to see a display no matter where you're sitting. So that's a little tricky because you got a bank of 6 display. Unless it's like, okay, Dallas Stars are playing, it's on every TV almost. But they want you to be able to sit there and watch, I got a golf game, a football game, 2 hockey games, a soccer game going on here. And if I turn over here, I got something else going on. So it's a really complex thing. The cool thing about it is we were brought in because of our House of Worship work. And now we're able to use that project to develop all kinds of incredible stuff that now is being deployed in House of Worship projects.
That's awesome.
So the circle and the cycle continues because now we're able to take those same principles and say, okay, church, you got a lobby, you got kids rooms, you got indoor, outdoor audio, TV displays, all this stuff. That's a complex system. How do I get a church volunteer to run that thing from an iPad? The most painful thing I ever see is somebody walking around with 6 different remote controls and they're trying to do this and do that. It's like, we could fix that. So anyway, I don't know. I might have drifted way off the question.
No, that's okay. Yeah. That's cool to hear. It's cool to hear some other projects going on.
So you talked about road mapping earlier, and I really like that idea because you implement everything, but you also have developed an entirely proprietary system. It's called PM Tracker. Is that correct?
Oh yeah, PM Tracker. Yeah. So again, because we don't consider ourselves an integrator, we're really a solutions provider. We get into areas other than just, integration. So if somebody needs a piece of gear, we'll just get them a piece of gear. We don't, stuff doesn't, if they say we're looking for a hazer, okay, we'll just get you a hazer. It doesn't have to be part of a project. Right. But we go beyond, so we've got gear, if that's what you need. We've got design and deployed systems, if that's what you need. We get into maintenance and support. If you need gear serviced and supported, we have a really incredible process that will do that on site. Equipment in place service. So you don't even have to take it down. We'll come work on it right there. PM Tracker has spun out of that. PM Tracker is a free tool. It's on and through our website, but it stands for periodic maintenance. One of the things we found is that people don't take care of their gear, and even if they do, they have a terrible system for keeping track of it, typically some spreadsheet. So what we did was we created PM Tracker, and it's a tool that you can take all your gear. Doesn't have to be just lighting. You take all your gear and you enter the serial number, make, model, all the stuff, hours on it, all the relevant data to it. And you create a file for it, and into PM Tracker it lives. And then it is where you keep track of all your maintenance. Anything that you do, you put it in there. If we come out and do work for you, we will update it and put it in there. It's a living, breathing record that lives with that piece of gear. It's something that you can transfer ownership of to someone else outside the organization, or if you're no longer working there or running things, you could transfer it to a new person. It's real simple. We also have multi-site or multi-campus built in there, so you can have different people at different sites with different access of it, things like that. We're trying to spool it up to kind of the next level where it would be a learning software, if you will, so that let's say you've got a projector. You would enter, the lamp, and we'd put the manufacturer information in there. You'd enter the lamp and you'd enter the hours and all that stuff. And then it would start to predict for you over time based on how often, let's say you replace the lamp or whatever. It'll say, okay, well, this lamp's got 1,000-hour life on it, and about every 750 you're replacing it, and every 750 comes up every 6 months. Okay, well, now the tool is going to, at 4 months, start reminding you, hey, based on trending history, you should be about 2 months away from a lamp replacement. You should probably think about, do I have a lamp on the shelf? Do I need to get one refurbished? Should I schedule E2i to come out and do the work? Whatever, right? Do I need to order a lamp? And we would like to tie it into a back-end web store that you could just click and get your tools, right? Things that you need. But we would like to kind of take it to the next level from a service perspective. But we're working through some things there of how we do that. Because right now, again, it's totally free. It's got some great features on it. There are more features we'd like to open up, but they have $ attached to them to deploy them. So we're working through how we make that happen. But yeah, PM Tracker is a really cool, exciting tool. People love it. And we want as many people as possible to use it. They have no obligation to us. They can use it all they want on their own. But we found that nothing ever breaks until it's really critical, especially in house of worship, right? Nothing ever breaks till 8:45 on a Sunday morning when you need it at 9. Mm-hmm. So we found that the more we can do from a maintenance perspective to try and reduce potential failures, the better we're going to be, and the better life expectancy we'll have on the gear. Manufacturers love it too, because now they know and they've got a record. It also makes your gear more valuable. I mean, if you're going to sell a piece of gear, could you get another $500 for your fixture because you've got stellar maintenance records over somebody who has that thing fallen into the Chicago River or not? I don't know. So that's kind of something else we're working on too.
That's a great tool. Great tool for the customer to plan and prepare and ultimately save money and make a little more money.
I mean, the entertainment industry is, can you overnight it? Overnight it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
The amount of money a lot of people spend in overnight is mind-boggling.
You say you don't need it or it doesn't break until it's absolutely critical.
Yeah.
Well, and having a piece of inventory tracking on top of that is another step in the process that we'd like to add in. So you could look at, how many Mac Viper lamps do I have on the shelf? And I got 3 left and I got 8 fixtures in the air. And this says I'm going to need to service them all in the next 3 months. I should probably get an order in, budget, plan, whatever. The other thing is just being able to have a consistent cart, if you will. you get 6, 8, 10 months down the road. What lamp was that again? Was it the Philips? Was it the Osram? Was it this? Was it that? Was it what filters are in that fixture? I mean, you get enough gear going, people are trying to keep this crap in their head. It's a nightmare. So, and that's the other thing. I got 20 minutes. I can go clean that fixture. Crap, I don't have any filters. Forget it. I'll do it later. And then 6 months, the thing's overheating and you're like, oh boy, I forgot, So trying to get some of that out of the way.
Yeah. So, going forward, where do you see technology bringing House of Worship in the next 10 years? I mean, is everything moving to LED, or, what do you see happening in the next 10 years?
Fixture based, yeah. I mean, there's always going to be some lamp stuff around. There's some challenges with LED for certain types of fixtures, but LED has really made a long stride. We did a lot of pioneering early on with moving head color corrected LED fixtures, deploying those in worship spaces, going, guys, we don't have to just have fixed fixtures. We can incorporate a moving head with color correction that's going to be right for your key light, right for video, all that stuff. Look at all the possibilities we can do. We can incredible things with 10 lights were before you had 30, right? So We've been really working on that. We spent a lot of time with a couple key manufacturers helping advise and consult and what the worship community needed from a fixture perspective, and they developed it for us, which is cool. Not just us, but our input was used. But anyhow, so yeah, definitely in the fixture world. I mean, we're expanding our reach into lobby and architectural spaces with some of our LED lighting manufacturers. Again, partnering with some of them, telling them what people need. Of course, LED house lighting has been a big thing in auditorium and worship spaces. That a lot of that applies to our hospitality stuff as well. The performance fixtures, right? The big movers of all, you can get the biggest of the big moving head fixture now with LED. So that's kind of, back in the day, they were definitely smaller, lower output. So again, technology expansion has made that happen. So yeah, in the lighting world, for sure, for LED has taken over. Video side, I think there's always going to be some level of projection. I think laser has made a lot of projection opportunities more relevant than maybe lamp-based had, where people were kind of getting in this, it's not really right for lamp, but it's not really cost effective for like LED video panels. What do we do? So laser projection has definitely helped kind of bridge that gap and help, create some things where the projection is still relevant. LED video wall technology has changed dramatically, over the last 10 years. But one of the things I've seen there is, I think we're pretty much at the, it was really, really low resolution and really, really high price, back when it first started, like 40 mil video panels for $7,000 a piece, it was just crazy. And then, what happened was the pixel pitch got tighter and the older stuff went down in price and the new stuff became the more expensive. And it kind of kept going that way. And now we're kind of like, all right, I feel like, and I don't want this to sound this way, but we've kind of reached the bottom, which is we've got really great pixel pitches that work in our environments that we're working in. I mean, they got stuff down less than 1 millimeter, and that we're not using that. I mean, that's even in the highest of high def video environments that we're working in. We don't need it that tight. That's just spending a lot of money. But stuff in that 2 to 3.5 to 3.8 millimeter range seems to be like the sweet spot for House of Worship. And the price is right there. So I think we've kind of hit the spot where, a lot of people are going, should I wait because it's going to get better and it's going to be less money? We're there. It's reached the price point it's going to be. I don't think it's getting much cheaper. And for what you need from a, pixel pitch and that sort of stuff, we've hit the target. So now it's just about deployment and getting it out there and making the right choices of, let's say, LED video panel to meet your need. Do you want something that's going to stay up and be static forever? Or do you want something that you're going to be able to take down and reconfigure and move around 10 times a year? So that's where we're at now. How does that play into, worship environment?
Well, that's great.
Technology is a key supporter and is going to continue to be a key supporter in the worship community. And I think now more than ever, people saw, oh my gosh, the only way we can stay connected is through technology. With coronavirus and people not being able to have live services and all that, the only way they could get their message out was with a technology tool. Going forward, I think the interesting balance is now going to be, live was always the focus for most ministries, not all, but a lot of ministries, and video, deployment, video messaging kind of took the back seat, if you will, or we're streaming our service, but it's not really anything we focus on. We just stick up a camera and send it out. Well, that's not going to work, for a really engaging experience. It never really did before. We kept trying to tell people, you really should either turn this off or put some attention behind it to make it good. So they finally kind of were forced to see that. But going forward now, the interesting challenge is going to be a lot of ministries are going to have to stay there because, they've got people used to it. Maybe people won't be comfortable to come back live for who knows how long. Or, maybe that's just where they always wanted to go and now they've got it. But now they got to weave the live experience back in. And they're going to do it with the same staff, the same number of hours in the week. They're not going to throw a bunch more bodies at it, most likely. So now ministries are going to be at this spot where now how do we run both effectively? How do we navigate that? What tools from a technology perspective do we need? What people do we need? Do we need to ramp up our volunteer teams? That sort of thing. So it's going to be interesting over the next handful of months, and I would say couple of years, to see how people now have to balance them both.
Yeah.
I don't have an answer. We're working hard to come up with good strategic answers that help, people be successful in both areas. Because again, the ministry hasn't changed to a point where, now we got a bunch more, money, we can just add more staff. They're not in that position. Now we have a team that runs this and a team that runs that. They're lucky to have the teams they have for the most part.
Going back to what you said, there's always stuff to learn, and we're learning, during the 2020 and 2021, every industry's learning how to adapt and figure things out. So let's keep learning.
And it's constantly evolving.
Yeah.
Well, Josh, we can't thank you enough. Is there anything else you'd like to plug or anything that you got going on that you want to talk about?
This was great. This was fun. I hope this is valuable and informational and educational for folks. And
it definitely is.
I learned a few things.
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah, me too. So I love it. I appreciate you guys asking us to participate on this. Thanks again for all your support as a manufacturing partner of ours, and we've got some great projects out on the horizon, and all your gear's on it, so that's good.
Awesome. Thank you.
But yeah, I look forward to getting back in person for some of our shows. I keep getting the questionnaires, and I'm like, yes, I'm ready. So I don't know, maybe I'll be the only one standing there, but I'm ready. I want to go.
I'll be there. I'll shake your hand.
Yeah, it's time. Ready. You got to just rip the Band-Aid off sooner or later, right?
Let's go. Yeah. So. There's that, but like we were talking about earlier, there is that interaction that cannot be met any other way. There is nothing like just bumping into people at shows and hanging out at the booth and spending some time together and chit-chatting or grabbing dinner in Vegas or whatever the case may be. There's no replacement for that.
There's not. You're correct.
There's only so long, I think we're all doing the best that we can, but there's only so long that we can tolerate it. We're just like, we got to get back,
Yeah.
I took some of my team out to Vegas for on LDI weekend this year because we had things booked and planned. Of course, it got canceled. I said, you know what? We got some people who have worked really hard this last year in the organization and plowed through, all the nonsense. And this is a reward. So we brought our wives and we all went out and had a nice weekend and had some fun and ate some great food. And, we said, we're going to be out here supporting the people that, staying at the places we stay at. We're going to the restaurants we go to because we're going to support these people as best that we can, even though we aren't out here for a big trade show. try to get a little flavor of normal.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Well, we hope to see you soon, Josh. We thank you so much. Thanks for everything you've done for us, and we're excited to get back and keep learning and keep teaching people how to use good gear. And
absolutely, guys, and thanks again for your investment in this. In these podcasts, and I'm getting stuff out of them. I'm listening to them, and I hope others are as well. So I appreciate you guys taking the lead and putting this out there.
Thank you.
Appreciate
All right.
you.
Well, we will talk to you very soon.
Okay,
Thanks, everyone,
guys.
for listening.
Yeah. Thank you for listening.
Take care.
All right.